This Part 2 Episode 113. The War King, Peng King, and Ming King trembled. Stone Clan's several thousand experts found it even harder to believe what they were seeing. They continuously moved everything to the lazurite boat. It was as if they were in a dream. Apart from a few especially powerful magical artifacts, what Shahao favored the most were a few medicinal fields. He dug them up, soil and all. He was going to completely transplant them. Western sect most likely won't make it either. This was what everyone speculated. Shahao was too powerful, sweeping through the world with unstoppable strength. No one had high hopes for Western sect. On the 12th day, Western sect's final great formation was broken through. Shahao slaughtered his way in with unmatched bravery. He killed two supreme experts one after the other, sweeping through this place. Is this the Varja liquid? The War King was so excited he began to tremble. He found a divine pool that was full of precious liquid. It radiated a unique fragrance. Correct, this is the Varja liquid, the greatest body refining precious liquid. Peng Nine nodded. Stone country couldn't be considered inferior, as it was an ancient divine country. However, when they were compared to Heaven Mending sect and Western sect, it truly dimmed in comparison. This cauldron isn't bad. It's a true deity magical artifact. The Ming King was moved. It was ancient looking and seemed to have experienced the vicissitudes of time. Village to protect the villagers. The War King, Ming King, and the others naturally weren't opposed to this. The two great sects were defeated by Shahao, and the rewards were extremely great. There were a few extremely formidable ancient magical artifacts on the boat that would be left for Stone Country. What abundant spoils! I really never expected the spoils to be so great. The Peng King sighed in admiration. Even though he was a supreme expert, he still found it hard to calm down. Your Majesty, please select a weapon for yourself as well. The War King advised. A row of weapons were displayed here, from supreme expert grade to divine grade. They all radiated precious splendor and flowed with brilliant colors. They were extremely formidable. Shahao nodded. He was going to the higher realms, so he indeed needed a powerful magical artifact to protect himself. As for Stone Country's sect protecting precious artifacts, he didn't plan on taking them with him. He looked them over again and again. Several old kings accompanied him, introducing these magical artifacts' origins and uses. After breaking through the two holy lands, they understood a few things from the captives. How powerful! This weapon isn't bad. The War King nodded, found it. Right at that moment, there were imperial guards that cried out. They were overjoyed as they brought over an ancient scroll. Golden Body Elixir's recipe. The Ming King's breathing became rushed. Heaven Mending sect had a type of special liquid called Golden Body Elixir that was priceless. Since ancient times, only core disciples like Yuchan could take it in and soak in it. Stone Country cared a lot about this recipe. They had always been searching for it. At this moment, they found it among the pile of treasures. Its value was similar to the Varja elixir recipe. If it was used to refine the body, as long as one obtained enough divine liquid, they would obtain twice the results with half the effort. One's constitution would be raised to its peak. The lazurite warship crossed the region wall and returned to the wasteland region. This raised a huge uproar. Stone Country traveled to other regions to carry out battles and returned victorious. The entire world was in commotion. The little stone is a legend. He actually revived from death and completely destroyed several holy lands. His name will definitely be recorded in the annals of history for thousands of years. This matter affected too much. It would inevitably leave behind a great mark in history. Shahao was quite clear on the fact that being able to overthrow several holy lands was because this was an era without deities. Those other experts were all captured by the undying existence. The lazurite warship did not return to Stone Country, and instead traveled towards the western boundary. Woo-woo sounds resounded through the great earth, leaving a few powers that it traveled past feeling greatly alarmed. They knew that the ship was heading for Little Western Paradise. There was still one last enemy inheritance that hadn't been wiped out yet. In this place, a swan wandered about. This was precisely one of Shahao's spiritual bodies. It had stood guard in Little Western Paradise this entire time, preventing the important figures of this sect from escaping. Little Western Sky's defeat also meant the defeat of all of the great enemies. As a result, Stone Country rose up in power. When news of this reached the rest of the world, everyone was trembling in shock. Afterwards, a disciple from Stone Country capital city's Lee family was left in charge of dealing with Little Western Paradise's aftermath. His name was Lee Biding, and he had cultivated in the sect before. He assumed control over the final mess. As a result, Little Western Paradise was reduced into being one of Stone Country's cities, and accepted Stone Country's laws. Stone Country was flourishing with activity. Along with Shahao's revival and overturning of several holy lands, they inspired awe throughout the world. They no longer had any adversaries. It's almost time to go. Shahao stood at the center of the central heavenly palace and sighed lightly. The outside world was in a state of commotion. The entire world was discussing this topic fervently. Shahao didn't care about these things. He went into isolation to refine medicine. Before leaving, he had a few more things to do. In the following half a month, Shahao continuously refined pills furnace after furnace. There were quite a few that were handed over to Qingfeng to bring back to Stone Village. There was also a batch left for Stone Country. Finally, he refined a few precious little Nirvana pills. This was a priceless pill medicine that could promote a king-level figure to a supreme expert. I should leave and find my own destiny, Shahao said. He stretched out his body, stopping his medicine refinement. The War King, Peng King, Qingfeng and the others all wanted him to stay behind a bit longer. However, when they opened their mouths, they didn't know what to say. Shahao was going to leave for the higher realms and find a heavenly path. He was going to seek his own Tao, so no one could stop him. Your Majesty. The old kings all felt emotional. Since Shahao rose to power, to his death, and then to his revival, too many things had happened. It was hard to forget. You aren't going to Stone Village to take one last look? Qingfeng was choking with emotions, asking while crying. This separation might be eternal. They might never see each other again. It's best if I don't. There will only be sadness. I should just leave like this, said Shahao. Stone Emperor. Many kings came to send Shahao off. They were all filled with reluctance. A few individuals' eyes carried tears. This was especially true for those young experts. They felt extremely reluctant. Shahao had brought them with him to break into those holy lands. They swept through everything before them and flattened the world, making their hearts experience great emotions. They were filled with respect and admiration. Goodbye. Shahao turned around and then took large steps into the distance. The king's hearts felt sour, but they couldn't stop him. Qingfeng was also shedding tears. He called out in a loud voice, "You have to take care of yourself, village chief, uncles, and our childhood companions are all unwilling to part with you. Will we be able to meet again in this life?" Shahao hesitated. His eyes became blurry, and his nose became sore, but he still didn't turn around. Then, he disappeared. He was about to leave, and it was unknown just how many years it would be before they could meet again. Perhaps they would never meet again. Shahao left. Even though he was reluctant, he still headed into the distance. There are still a few great natural opportunities in the lower realm, it's just that no one knows when they will reappear. He told Stone Country everything he knew so that they could look for them in the future. The first place he visited was Heavenly Deity Mountain. Unfortunately, this place was completely empty. The celestial race had all left. This former archaic divine mountain had become an abandoned place. At that moment, he thought of many people. Second Baldy was the one that fixed this formation. Then, he left for the higher realms together with the celestial race. Yun-11, a purple-haired girl with bright eyes and beautiful teeth. She was extremely talented. Back then, she had fought with Shahao in the 100 Shattering Mountains. Both of them had rolled about, wrestling on the ground. The savage child fiercely bit her sparkling ear. Shahao fetched a pendant from the bronze precious case. Rumor has it that this was what the celestial race young women used for betrothal. Fire Emperor and the others left through this place. They should have peacefully entered the higher realms, right? Shahao said softly. The Fire Emperor had treated him kindly before, allowing him to cultivate in Fire Nation's ancestral land and even giving him pointers in his cultivation. Hualinga, is she still all right? When Shahao thought of her, he couldn't help but think to himself. Back then, this young lady had helped him more than once. Meanwhile, the higher realms were so big, a single province being greater than all 8 regions added together. Would they be able to smoothly meet each other again? After standing here for a long time, he left, because he couldn't enter the higher realms from this place. The heavenly paths had been severed. He walked about in the great wastelands, searching through different places one after another, hoping to find an ancient path. After attacking Western Sect, Immortal Mountain, Heaven Mending Sect and the other places, Shahao understood many secrets. He began to head towards the secret lands recorded within these great sects to try his luck. Shahao arrived here based on what was recorded. He carefully looked around. What he found left him shocked. This copper palace that was full of green stains was a bit familiar. Isn't this Immortal Palace's curse? This was the deduction he arrived at from the clues. In the ancient times, there were people from Immortal Palace that came into the lower realm, taking action here, turning a temple into a land of death that was full of ominousness. Once I go up, there will inevitably be a battle. The next place he visited was an ancient cave that was recorded in Immortal Mountain. This place also resulted in disappointment. It had long collapsed. You already possess 2 supreme being bones. Just how powerful are you now? While standing in front of the ruins recorded in Immortal Mountain, he softly said to himself. He thought of his younger brother. After Qin Hao entered the higher realms, he stirred up a great uproar. Many people favored him, believing that he would definitely rise up and become a supreme being. A few undying inheritances reached out in friendship, willing to have their heavenly ladies connect with Immortal Mountain in marriage or for the sake of roping in this youth. Shahao left. This time, he headed towards the space region, the great region Heaven Mending Sect was located in. The 2 ancient paths he found there also left him disappointed. Finally, he found a secret land. He revealed a cry of surprise. He found a few clues inside of an ancient mountain range. Goodbye, lower realm. These were left behind by Yuchan, the handwriting exactly the same as hers. These words contained a Dao aura, a type of emotion that seemed extremely complicated as she left. It wasn't left behind by the main body. Shahao was sure of this, because Yuchan's main body left through Heaven Mending Sect's road. That road had long been severed. This was left behind by Yuchan's second body. After Shahao died, Stone Country's people let her go. She didn't return to Heaven Mending Sect, and instead chose a mysterious road to enter the higher realms. Knelt down in marriage in the past. Soon after, a faint smile appeared at the corners of Shahao's lips. Yuchan's second body didn't return to Heaven Mending Sect, and instead chose to secretly enter the higher realms, so she was definitely avoiding her main body. If we meet again, I wonder what kind of attitude she will have when we face each other. Shahao said softly. Was the relationship between Yuchan's second body and himself husband and wife, friend, or enemy? He had a feeling that they would still meet again. What a pity, he said quietly. After being used once, this formation was destroyed as well. Shahao's mind was moved. He got on the island, paying it a visit. This immediately raised a great uproar. His name had already reached the seas, so many ocean race experts knew about him. The one that killed the Grey Flood Dragon's supreme expert, with just a spiritual body. Sea Deity Island, even though their backing is deep, with no deities in the present world, was still extremely nervous and worried. They were scared that he might wipe out the inheritance here. Shahao visited the island and said, I just wish to borrow a path. He told them their purpose in coming, his words extremely frank. The ocean deity race's creatures released a breath of relief. Then, they explained that the path had been severed. After their clan's Mo Shong left, it could not be used anymore. Mo Shong. Shahao remember who that was. Back then, during the Battle of the Kuan Peng next, that ocean race youth left him with quite a deep impression. He was a strong opponent that he had fought an intense battle against before. No wonder the ocean deity race was nervous, fearing that he came to settle accounts. Then, Shahao understood that Han Tian, the flaming fish race demon-like expert, that was just as powerful as Mo Shong, had also entered the higher realms. After they left, the ocean race already didn't have any other paths. During recent years, after the great calamity, the great archaic divine mountains all declined. The 100-race battlefield was no longer as great as before, lacking many unrivaled creatures. After using the 72 transformations to change his appearance, Shahao fought here. He didn't draw too much attention, because the entire world was talking about the little stone and stone country. The 100-race battlefield's battles weren't even close to being as shocking as Shahao sweeping through the world. After winning in this battlefield, he walked up onto the altar that transported him into an overgrown land. There weren't any live opponents here, only puppets and other things. He fought fiercely, ultimately winning again. He was then sent into another ancient place. With Shahao's current strength, he naturally tore through this place with irresistible power, rushing forward in an unstoppable manner. Wall of gods and devils, death of the archaic. Shahao softly spoke to himself. He thought of that place. Not only was there a mysterious wall there was also an ancient path. There were shocking words on that wall and a name that was extremely dangerous. However, if one passed through 108 trials, one could walk on that road and reach the place on the other extreme. However, ever since the ancient times, not many people had passed through this road. Shahao had spoken to the divine striking stone before and also searched through all types of bone books, and what he deduced was that this road should lead to the higher realms, perhaps even towards the so-called mysterious region. The shocking message, as well as the words death of the archaic, made one feel great fear. It was definitely not empty words, so he was sure that it was extremely dangerous. Shahao moved his body again. He headed for Fire Nation and entered the ancient land that was full of magma and scorching heat. Then, he went deep underground before appearing in front of the ancient Holy Emperor Palace. After arriving here, he wanted to find some clues, so he naturally needed to enter the battlefields. This was, without a doubt, going to be a series of intense battles. Fine, let's just treat this like a type of training to sharpen myself. Let's see just how powerful these divine birds and archaic vicious beasts are. A pair of stone gates was pushed open, and then Shahao walked in. It was quite dark inside, and the arena he stepped onto looked like it was covered in blood. This place was a dark red color. There is no limit to lightning. It is one of the world's most terrifying powers. Shahao fought intensely. He sighed inwardly in admiration. If he wasn't powerful enough himself, he would have been killed by this beast immediately. Regardless of whether it was heavenly tribulation or divine punishment, they were all lightning, descending to punish the wicked. This proved the awe of this power that was related to the forbidden. Shahao moved his body sideways. Multicolored light flowed through his body in an instant. His fist surged with lightning, clashing head-on against it. Endless lightning erupted. Blinding radiance filled this place. There are a few other divine birds and vicious beasts who excel in lightning. If I can learn from them, my lightning precious technique will definitely break through to the limit, perhaps becoming that of the forbidden Tao. Shahao fought while gaining insights. He wasn't in a rush to decide the outcome of this battle, instead using this chance to compare, comprehend, and perfect his own technique and Tao a step further. After studying it for a long time, he used all of his power and slammed out a palm. Endless lightning wrapped around a swan ni formed from lightning. In the surroundings, stars appeared one after another. It was incomparably ferocious. It rushed outwards and collided into the true swan ni ancient beast. This was a clash of the same precious technique. It was incredibly intense. Finally, everything vanished like smoke in thin air. That vicious beast turned into a Tao symbol and burnt into ashes. Shahao searched around this place, looking through every corner. He saw that there was a diagram carved at the very depths of this battlefield. He studied it for a bit before leaving. Then, he pushed open the next door. He already broke through 10 trials in succession, and as a result, discovered a few traces. There were bone texts recorded in a few arenas that spoke about locations where the true wall of gods and devils had appeared before. He woke up the divine striking stone and chatted with it to get its opinion on the matter. In the past, the places the wall of gods and devils appeared were all forbidden areas, and now, it should be a similar place. This was a Daotai, a creature with a sheep body and human face. Its teeth were snow white, and brilliant scales covered its body. Between the scales, there was also some fur that was long and rough. It looked extremely ferocious. This was without a doubt a well-known beast among archaic heavenly ranked beasts, one of the creatures ranked at the forefront. It was known as a creature that could devour and eat all things. This vicious beast is definitely not easy to deal with, Shahal said to himself. Its reputation was extraordinary in the ancient years, shaking all 8 regions. A single roar could make the moon fall. Shahal released a light shout. He turned into a vermilion bird that was powerful and domineering. His hands tore apart the fog and erupted with endless force to slaughter his way out. Shahal was astonished. This Daotai mastered its own precious technique to the extreme. It could combine symbols at ease and display the most powerful might. These scripture symbols arranged together, and ultimately formed a furnace. The Daotai suppressed the world. That furnace seemed to be able to hold all living things. This was an extremely intense battle. Shahal fought while analyzing his opponent to confirm his own techniques and Dao. His benefits from this battle were tremendous. Scarlet multicolored light flickered about. A rain of blood followed him out. He leapt upwards and then pointed forward. Sword energy surged outwards, piercing the Daotai between his brows, immediately blasting it down. He sat down and rested for a bit. Then, he reached the deepest area in the arena. What he found made him release a cry of surprise. He found something important. What pity, I'm not unable to even complete the initial test, so it's impossible to go to the true wall of gods and devils. Shahal was astonished. After carefully identifying and looking around, he knew where he was. This was a terrifying place in the wasteland region, Black Jungle region. Back then, the great demonic god Grandpa 15 had been chased after by a Pishio, and the place he fled to was this place. He avoided a disaster, but he was trapped for many years before he was allowed to leave. There are countless formations here. A single mistake, and I might be buried here forever. Shahal carefully observed this place as he walked in step by step. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.